Hello everyone, welcome to my live stream. It's Friday, so it's time for Chibi Friday, and I am in the middle of drawing Chibi Lulu, who is the cat of one of my friends. And last week we got a lot farther than usual for a part one. We got the basic sketch done and then the inking and started on the marker work. So I have a really good feeling about the progress we'll be able to make today. I think I might even be able to finish Chibi Lulu in just 2 sessions, and most of my chibis like this take 3 sessions, so that will be really nice because the more I can make, the better, I feel like. I also have another, this is a birthday present, I have another birthday present chibi to do after this as well, so let's see, we'll just jump right into it. I'm on the marker coloring stage. I already did the grays for the parts of Lulu that are white fur. She's a calico, so she has 3 different colors, black, tan, and white. And I always work from lightest colors to darkest colors, which means the next thing to color is actually one of the most fun parts, will be her eyes. She seems to have, and I verified this with my friend, that nice jade green sort of color eyes. The same, it looks in the reference photo I'm seeing, looks the same as my cat, Kiki. So yeah, I'm thinking I'll go with, let's see, maybe for the lightest part, I'm going to use this G12. And then while I'm at it, I'll bring out the next shade down, G24. I'll use those two. So G12 and 24. Let's see, 12, 24. And the iris part of her eyes is so big that I think I can even fit in a 3rd color. Because you can only fit in so many colors in a small area, otherwise they just sort of blend together, and then like what was the point of, especially the lightest color, what was the point of using it, because it just sort of disappears. But this this time the iris, the colored part of the eye, is so big, there's a lot more room than other times I've drawn chibis. So first I'm filling it in with this lightest color. Yeah, that's the color. This doesn't show up very much on the camera, but there's a base color. And with the reference image I've got, there's a really big area of highlight because the light is coming in from almost exactly on her side. Not from in front, but from the side. So there's a big area of highlight here, like inside the eye, and then there's like one big highlight on the outside of the eye, like a little dot, like what you normally expect. And then the next darkest part is like from here up. So I'm going to use this 2nd color to do that. And same thing on this side. What's nice with working from a real-life reference photo is that you can see that it's slightly different. Over here, it's a little bit more curved, and over here, it's more of a straight line. And if I was just working from imagination, I'd probably tend to just make them the same, make them look the same. But because the light is hitting more over here and less over here, and the way the light has to curve around the face and around the nose makes this look different. So let's go ahead and go to a 3rd darker color. What would be good though? I don't want to go too cartoony green. I want to keep within this nice jade green color of her eyes. So maybe I'll even look at the yellow greens. This yellow green 67 might be nice. This one coming after this one. Yeah, let's do that. Yellow green 67 for the 3rd darkest color. Actually, give me a second to... I'm going to take my sweater off. It was so cool this morning that I actually needed a sweater for the first time in a while. But now it's gotten a lot warmer. And I'm in the basement too. That's always stays the coolest part of the house. Okay. That's better. That's better. So, next color. There's not too much on this side of the eye. Just a little tiny bit of this darker color. Like right there. But over here, like I said, the light's coming from this side. There's actually a much bigger portion of shadow in the iris, and you can even see some around the pupil as well. And then I'm gonna deviate a little bit from the reference image and add some shadow along the top line of the eye, because I always like how it gives dimension to the eye and makes it look like the eyelids are sticking out over the eyeball, because that's what they do, even if the shadow doesn't always necessarily naturally show that. So, taking a little artistic license. Let me get this second color in here too. And then I'll use the lightest color again to blend it a bit. Make the edges a little softer. There. Well, let's do it right here too. There, that's nice. Yay, the eyes are always the funnest part. Yep, just with that, so much depth is added. And then later, one of the last, no, probably the last thing I do except for signing it is add the nice pops of white highlights on the eyes, but not yet. Now we'll need to go to the next darkest color, which is the tan parts of her body. So I'll have to zoom out of my reference image. I zoomed in on her face so I could see her eyes good. Actually, instead of the tan, let's do the pink in her ears. There's a little pink you can see on this side and on this side. So let's find a nice natural looking pink. I don't like to do too cartoony, even though I know my style is but I think that's what makes my art a little bit different, is that I like the colors to be a little bit more natural. Although, of course, I start with the natural base and then I just add on and it becomes a little idealized or oversaturated or something anyway, but start from a separate base, I think, still makes a difference. I don't know if I like that. I want, yeah, I think these red violets, the reds are a little too red. I like these red violets more. This is but it's not light enough, maybe. Yeah, let's do this one. RV32. At least as the first layer. RV32, red violet 32. Okay. So she doesn't have pink all in her ears. Some of it is black because her fur is black, and some of it is just seems kind of light white colored. So I'll just do where it seems like pink is showing through. And then I'll actually go to this cool gray 1, which is the C1, the color I used for all the shading on the white parts of the fur. And I'll use that to blend the pink in a bit. It's not going to do too much, but I'll just soften the edges up a little bit. So it's not a super stark contrast. Yeah, and I think that's good enough. Just the one pink color, I think. Let me turn my... In case anybody pops into the chat. Turning my screen so I could see it better. And also, take a drink of my delicious water. Added 2 new stickers to my water bottle. These adorable Shin Sangumi and I guess this is a geisha. Hello Kitty stickers. I just got some nice mineral water in here today. Okay, so now we can go to the tan parts of her fur. And they seem to be a fairly light tan color. I mean, tan already indicates a light brown, but even then it's almost approaching a cream color, it seems to me. So actually, I feel like this is perfect. These 3 right here. This looks perfect to me. Okay, so that's E11, 13, and 15. E stands for earth tones. So in other words, browns. Oh, Exie, hello! How are you? Welcome! Yay! It's the end of the week. We made it through another week together. Hooray! How are you doing? Are you looking forward to your weekend? Did you have a successful Friday? Let's see. The first thing is a stripe right up the middle of her head. Kind of like that. And then she's got, let's see, so she's got a little white patch on her nosy, and then it comes up to the eye like that. And it's almost a straight line across here, and then there's some more white under it. So it's just this kind of shape, patch of tan. Oh, excellent. Exie says, I'm all right. Thank you for asking. How are you? I am doing good. I'm excited for the weekend. Well, I made it through the week, and I have fully recovered from the upset of having to do jury duty last week. I'm completely back to normal, and my motivation is back, and it's just getting stuff done. So, yeah, I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. I'm excited because I feel like I'll be able to finish Chibi Lulu here in only 2 sessions. That's pretty fast. I mean, it's not unprecedented. It's happened before, but if I can make more art of the same quality, of course, faster, then I feel happier, because the more cute chibis and pretty illustrations I make, then, I don't know, it just makes me feel happy to create little lovely pieces of art. So I'm really excited about that. I'm feeling motivated. And I can't tell for sure in this reference image if it's just the lighting, but I think there might be a little tiny touch of tan in her, around her mouth here and here. So hopefully, even if that's not right, it'll blend in well and still be accepted as Lulu. So I think the same thing might be happening here too. It's a little crescent, maybe, of tan right here. Wow. It's going so fast, just like I hoped. The next layer of color, E13. And overall, she's actually pretty evenly lit by the light. There's just a tiny bit of shadow right here on this stripe going up her head. And maybe a little touch where it's wrinkly and it's a shadow because the fur is just separating. Oh, thank you very much. Exie says it's looking great too. Yay! I'm glad to hear it. I always wonder until the very end, like, is this looking right? Especially when it's somebody's pet. And all I have is a photo, so like, I hope it looks like them. But I showed my friend the progress I made last time, and he was like, oh, it looks just like her. And I showed my mom, and I can't remember who all he said he showed, but everybody seemed to like it. So I was like, yay, I'm on the right track. So this is always good to hear. That happens with everything, too. Like, every piece of art I do, all the way until the end. I'm like, did I make the right choice? Oh, maybe I should have done something different. Oh, no. And then it's done, and I'm like, oh, it was fine. It happens every time. So I've kind of gotten used to that. Not being sure about it until it's actually done. Just sort of accept that I'm going to question it until it's done. Okay, and there's just, there's not really too much super dark area of tan. Maybe just a little tap right there. This cheek area seems to be the darkest part on this reference photo. Maybe a little tiny little dots here and there. Like right here where the leg is, there's a little shadow being cast. Right here, just tiny little bits. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Done with the tan, at least for now. Once I get the black parts of her fur on, it might look like it needs a little more work, but man, at this rate, I might finish the stream early. We'll wait and see. I'm not saying that's gonna happen. Just like I was already, I had a feeling when I started, like, wow, she's already so close to done. But we do have colored pencils and stuff to do too. And I feel like I say that every time. Every time it's the last bit of the chibi. I always feel like I'll be done early, and then I'm like, if I'm early, it's only 10 minutes or something. We'll see. I'm deciding whether I want to do warm gray or toner gray for the black parts. I used cool gray for the white parts. So I think maybe toner gray will be a nice complement. Warm gray is on the completely opposite end of the spectrum, and it's just such a different base color. I don't think they go together quite as nicely as the toner gray. So let's do toner gray, and I'll just do the same thing I did. Let's see, how light is the dark parts of the... They're not too light. There's not too much really bright reflection on the dark parts of her fur, so I think I'll start with... Yeah, I'll start with 5, so I'll get 5, 7, and 9. T5, 7, and 9. Okay, I'm going to do the entire, what am I trying to say? I'm going to map out all of the black parts of her fur, even though a lot of it is going to end up being this darkest marker. And so it might be like a bit of a waste to fill it all in with this, but it'll really help me to just have it all mapped out first and then add the shadows on top so that I'm not confused about what was like, oh, I was waiting to do the darker marker or something like that. So just going to go ahead and do everything in this lightest of the dark fur markers that I chose. And there's a lot of area where I'm sort of condensing her markings. So I've got to keep that in mind. It's not going to be exactly the same fur pattern because the chibi body is just so small. There's not actually room for exactly the same markings as what is on her in real life. But I think if I get the overall gist of it, then she'll still be recognizable, and that's what really counts. There's this cute little line coming out right there. And another one like right there. Okay, so done with this side. I'll do these other legs first and then move on to the head, because the head is like so huge. So this entire part of this leg is black. And she has the cute white mittens on her feet. And I'm leaving a little white right here because a bit of her white belly fur is showing out over here from under this front arm. So I'm going to leave that to indicate that there's some fur poking out. Although it does look like she's got the white mittens on the front, but it seems like the back paw actually has one black toe. Or at least one. It might actually be two black toes, but there's a distinct black patch right there. So putting that in right there. Is that the rest? Oh, no. There's one little tiny little spot of black fur right there. Okay, time to move on to this really big chibi head. I just posted some of my old Harry Potter chibis on the Protego Foundation Discord, and it made me realize that over the years I've made my chibi heads like just so huge. Chibi heads used to be 1-to-1 ratio of the head and then the body, but now it's more like a 1.5-to-1 ratio. I like the way I do them now, but it's just really funny to see that, wow, they just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger as the years went by. Okay, now I think I gotta move on to the bigger end of the marker because this is just such a huge area. So the nose is black too. And right here along this tan patch. And this whole side of the face I can just freely color in because it is all black. So that makes it nice and easy. Trying to keep in mind, even though most of this will probably get covered up, making strokes that go in the direction of the fur growth so that if they do show through, they'll just add an appropriate texture. Okay, now right here is a thin patch of hair, so I'm doing little spots to show her fur is not as thick here. You can see some of her skin underneath. So that just tends to happen with cats, is that this area between eye and ear for some reason tends to be thinner fur. Then in over here, even though it's probably just as thin, if she's anything like the cats that I've had in my life, probably because it's in shadow, that's why it's so dark still. Okay, we'll bring this all the way up to the top. And then on the side. And this part of the ear is black. All the way up to the middle part of the top. And then there's a lot of either black fur or shadow being cast by the fur that's there. So I'm going to add some strokes with the thinner end of the marker to start indicating that. There, that half of the face is done, but there's still, like, basically all of this is also black. It's back to the big end of the marker. Let's see, the white comes up actually in a point. There's a white stripe right here that comes up to a point. And it's interesting, there's a tiny bit of indication of perhaps the hair is thinner right here on this side, but it's not as noticeable, so I'm just going to use colored pencil, or maybe, not, probably colored pencil to indicate that later, and it'll just fill it all in with marker right now. The black comes up over this little stripe of tan on her forehead. Okay, now we'll go to the small end again for this ear. There's not as much indication of like shadow or really dark fur on the inside because this one is more in shadow and the light's coming from here. But there is still a little bit. And this part, the upper edge is just definitely, is just all black, so coloring that in. And there's like, looks like a little dot or something of black here. It's actually a lot like Kiki's ears. So I'll have practice. So I just did Kiki. And a little touch of black right there. Yay! Base done. Next layer. Actually, I want to take another drink of water first. Thank you. Perfect. Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, there's still a lot of work to do with this black. It actually feels a little bit daunting because I filled all this in, but no, let's do it again. But thank you very much for your kind words. So encouraging to have the live feedback as I'm working. Yay! So Exie, how have your plants been growing on your plant shelf? I've been thinking about that recently because not all of my little flower seedlings have survived. So I'm like, because I've never been the best with plants. Like they're a whole hobby unto themselves, and I just forget about them, or I'm like, I need to do this thing, but then I never do it. Some of them are still alright though. They're not all dead. So especially the sunflowers are really thriving. Sunflower sprouts are getting really tall. They're like 6 inches tall now. Oh, I was just thinking about your plant shelf that you made. I'm wondering if you had any cool updates. Or I think you said you were going to get some flowers or something. I can't remember. Anyway, if there's no updates, that's okay too. I've just been thinking about it because I've been thinking about my plants. Like, my plants, they're not all surviving. I was talking to someone about it today, and they're like, well, even professional people or people doing research, so not every single plant survives. I'm like, I guess that's true. Oh, that's adorable. Exie says, they are alright, just chilling. I made a terrarium with mosses I collected. Oh, I bet that's so cool. I love mosses. They're so cool. They're so lovely. I just want to squish them. Feel their bounciness. And they put a baby snail in it. That's adorable. I love snails. When I lived in Santa Barbara, California when I was a kid, was it Santa Maria? Anywhere. When I lived in Southern California in the spring, it would rain. And I remember as a kid collecting snails into a bucket. And that's all I did. I just liked to, because the snails would come out because it was raining. So they were like about this big. So I pick them up with their shells and put them in the bucket. And then there would be all these snails like crawling around in the bucket. Like, that was it. Just to collect them. Didn't do anything else with them. They're so cool how they grow their shells like that. Spirals. It's like growing a spiral bone on the outside of their body. And we have little teeny tiny snails here, but not here meaning in Idaho, but I've never seen any of the like nice big kind that I had when I was a kid. So now I'm using a little bit of my imagination, just my knowledge of how cat's fur tends to be. Because this is so in shadow in the photo that it just looks like one big black block. But I'm using little small strokes so that it'll have some fur-like texture. And up here on the ear. The fur on the ear is always super, super short, so that'll definitely look really smooth. And these. So I just realized there's a little dark patch in this ear, but I don't want to do it this medium dark color. We'll do this little lighter color. And one right here too. There, that's better. Okay, moving up around the top of the head. And here we're getting a lot more light. So I'm going to do my best to be cognizant of where the light is hitting and applying it to my chibi, because again it can't be exactly the same since it's the chibis, so it's the proportions aren't right. You know, the eyes are gigantic. Even for a cat, they're bigger than natural. So I still have to adjust. Alright, this is a really dark patch as well, all the way down to the nose. And touching the eye. Yeah, that's good. Oh yeah. It kind of comes together here toward the tip of the nose, but there's still a little patch of highlight right here too. Okay, moving up across the top of the eye. And here's where a lot more light is hitting, and you can see more. It's sort of the same thing as over here. It's kind of ironic. I think maybe I'll put a little bit more dark here later, but it's still a lot brighter over here compared to this side. So maybe she just has a little bit more of a bald spot over here. And it doesn't have to do with the lighting. Okay, thank you for joining me. Yeah, you're welcome. Exie says, thank you for the stream. Have to leave for today. Hopefully see you next time. Yep, hopefully see you next week. I should be back on Monday. I don't think there's anything weird happening next week. So I think it'll be normal stream time. Bye. So I missed a little patch of black right here. And this is a big area where I'm just going to have to be not quite accurate to the reference image, because I put her mouth up here, the bottom of her head I have here. Since with cats the head is like this and then the body comes out, but with a chibi the body is suddenly shrunk in underneath. So this actually should be matching right here, but the mouth is like huge and in a different spot. Just put that there and it'll just be its own thing. It's actually pretty dark, so I'm already going to go over it with this second darkest color. Bringing it up. Okay, that's good for now. I'll go over it with both of these colors again later to fine tune, but let's go ahead and move on to the third darkest color, which I think a lot of areas are going to get this too. Because it's black fur and then a lot of the fur is in shadow on top of that, so it makes it extra dark. I'm still doing lines instead of a big block of shading to give her a furry texture, even if that's not exactly what I'm seeing in the reference image. Okay, I think I've got her an extra stripe here. Oh yeah, this should be lower, so I'll just go ahead and color this in. There. There, that's better. There should be one patch here and one patch here. This should have been a little bit lower, but it's fine. Okay, body is done. Now I'm just indicating there's just these little bits and pieces of really dark fur among this, in this area that seems to be thinner. So I'm adding those in. Yay, getting closer and closer. And just looking back and forth between my reference image and my actual drawing. Okay, I think that's good for round 1. Now I'm going to go back to this lightest of the dark markers that I chose. Though I think I'm actually going to bring in this cool gray 3 for just this little bald patch right here. It's so different from any of the other areas where she has dark fur, because it almost looks like the white of her skin is showing through. So I'll just fill that in so that it's not the same white of the paper, but also not as dark as this T5 either. So now just fine tuning anywhere that looks like it could use it. Especially some of these areas that are getting light, but they're still too bright. It's still too much. Still needs to be darkened up. Now I think I'll go back to the tans. Not this super dark one. Maybe I'll even, no, I'll use this middle one to help make these tan patches feel more like they fit in with the black now that the black is there. They sort of, they feel like they're standing out a bit too much. I'm even coloring a little bit into the black color that I've put down so that it actually physically comes together. Because that's how fur actually works anyway. It's growing next to each other, and yeah, this patch is a different color from this patch, but here there will be both colors on both sides. It's not this really hard cut line. And I think here actually I put tan, but now that I'm really looking at it, it looks more like the black color, so I'll add the toner gray in there. Just a little small bit of darker. There. Just looking over it one more time. Maybe I'll do a little bit, oops, wrong end. A little bit more, second next dark color for the black fur here. But it is pretty light overall on this side of the face. So I think that's good. I think I am done with markers. So let's get colored pencils out. So move my marker stuff over here. And I always regret it when I don't get my giant set of pencils. So just go ahead and get the giant set. How are we for time? Got a little bit over 10 minutes, so I think we actually can finish this today. Nice. And it'll be just like I said, where I thought I'd be able to finish it even faster, but not quite. We're not going to do it quite that fast. I'm trying to figure out how to put this best so that I can use the colored pencils as I can still show the picture and also have, okay, we'll do it a little bit sideways since it's hanging off the edge of my desk a tiny bit, but not too bad. Okay, so the thing I keep in mind the most when I use colored pencils is where do I want to be able to use white ink at the end, because it does not work well on top of colored pencil. So anywhere where I want to be able to use white ink, I should not do colored pencil. But I think probably the biggest area I want to do it is just on the fur to give it an overall unification. So I'm just going to go straight for this warm gray 90% pencil and just gently color over all the black fur. So it gives it a more unified look than the marker alone can achieve. And it's especially nice here on this bald part that I left, because it's not completely bald. It's still colored a little bit by small, teeny tiny hairs that are just too small to be depicted with marker. But with just the texture of the paper with the colored pencil on top, it helps give that effect. And it can also help with adding a little bit more subtle shading. So do that inside the ears. And I will probably, I'm not really actually seeing too many white hairs inside the ears. Her whiskers are white, so I'll do my best to get the white whiskers on to the black fur part using the white ink, but so like I'm not going to use any colored pencil in the eye, I don't think, because I really want to do those little it's like the little cherry on top to add that splash of light into the eye. It's the final thing that makes it really come to life. You can even color a little bit past the main block of black fur so that it has that little bit more subtle unification with the black and the tan or the black and the white fur. And especially right here, because this part is so subtle in the reference image. So I'm actually going to cover these tan parts with this dark gray marker, or color pencil. There, that's good. Now we'll do the same thing for the tan. Let's see what color will be good. Maybe this one. What's this? Burnt ochre. And the main point is just to make the transition between light and dark colors for these fur, for these areas of fur, just a little smoother, a little more subtle. I think that it would look perfectly fine with just the marker. But I love this really polished look that results from using the colored pencil on top. And so now I'm going to use the white colored pencil. It's not that powerful, but it can make a little tiny subtle difference in areas that you want to lighten up just a bit, or make it a bit more softer as it transitions from white to whatever color. Or add a gentle highlight instead of the stark white of the ink. All right, that's good. I am ready now for my favorite thing to do with colored pencils, which is add a nice, not necessarily realistic, but it comes from the logic of colors. Add purple to areas that are in shadow. And it's not that obvious. It's actually not that obvious unless someone is looking for a while, and then they'll be like, oh, there's purple in there. But it makes it so much more vibrant and so much more exciting to look at and more interesting. That's my favorite thing of doing this style of drawing, is adding that last little touch of purple. And I use a much lighter hand when I'm using it on light areas, because I want it to be a bit subtle. I do think it still looks cool. I've seen people do stuff like that, or using really vibrant colors in otherwise naturalistic drawings and doing it in a really in-your-face way, and that looks cool too. That's just not the style that I do, so that's why I choose to do it differently. And it's especially cool to see in real life on these dark patches, because it doesn't necessarily show up quite the same way when it's scanned in on the computer in a digital image to view online. Because in real life, you can actually see that the colored pencil is sitting on top of this marker when the marker absorbs into the paper. So it just physically looks different. Colored pencils have a wax base. The medium is wax. So it's got a shininess to it. And that's obviously goes away in the digitization process. I said I wasn't going to use any. I'm just going to do a little bit in the eye. Just a little bit. Yeah, it looks so cool. I love it. So fun. So fun. Okay. Just looking it over once more to make sure there's nowhere that I'm like, oh, I really wanted to put some there, but I think that's probably good. Okay. Colored pencil done. Yay! Next, and we've got 5 minutes left, so this is like perfect timing. White ink. My favorite is the Sakura Jelly Roll, but I have lots of them. Lots of different white ink pens. And not just gel pens, but gel pen is my favorite. It's so accessible, so easy to use, so clean. There's not a lot of crazy cleanup. You just have to use it in certain ways in order to get the look you want. So like right now, I'm not just drawing a circle and tapping the tip down to create a circle with teeny tiny little dots. Because if you just draw a line, there's usually like a valley in the middle of your ink, so that there's actually two white lines and then like a valley where the ball in the pen scraped along the paper. So by just tapping it, you can get a more solid line or circle or whatever shape you're trying to make. And that also helps with trying to get it to work on top of colored pencils too. It's not 100% foolproof, but, or not 100%, not foolproof, but it's not 100% effective, but it's still, it's a way around it. Okay, so first I've done what I'm actually seeing in the reference image, which is a line of highlight here and a distinct dot of highlight here. But since it's an anime style drawing, I am also going to add a dot on this eye to make it more symmetrical. And then I'll also add a little, I mean, it makes sense that there would be less of this big light line of highlight because the light wouldn't be hitting there, but I'll just do a tiny bit because the light's coming from this side basically. And so there just wouldn't be any, but again, because it's anime style, usually the eyes are symmetrical as far as the highlights go. So I just make a tiny indication to copy just a bit, get that anime style symmetry. And then the nose is actually not that, there doesn't seem to be that much highlight. It's a very velvety looking nose. So I'm just going to do little dots and not like a big, huge highlight on it. Like sometimes pet noses are very wet and they need just as bright a highlight as an eye, but not in Lulu's case. So just doing that little gentle one. Plus these little teeny tiny dots, let me hold it up closer so you can see what I'm talking about. Little teeny tiny dots help give that velvety texture as well. Okay, where else do I want some bright highlights? Oh yes, I'm gonna do my best. She's got two very distinct whiskers coming out of her eyebrows. I did all that colored pencil, so I really don't know how well I'll be able to make this happen. Yeah, it does not want, it does not want to. I've got a line though. I think what it'll do when I digitize this to send the final image to my friend, because this is his birthday present, I'll just use Photoshop to enhance the effect and make it a little bit more clear that these are whiskers. Eyebrow whiskers, cute kitty eyebrow whiskers. Okay, and then on this side, interesting, there's only one visible, so I'll just go ahead and follow the reference image for that. Let's do one. And then, of course, she's got nice big whiskers here. And I think I'll do what I did with my Kiki Chibi, which is, I wonder if I had a bigger one. It really does not want, I mean, I knew to expect it, but it does not want to draw on the colored pencil. Anyway, I think I'll do what I did with my Kiki Chibi, which is where the whiskers come out of the face, even though they are white, just pure white whiskers, I'll draw some black lines to indicate that they're coming out farther, because the background is white, so they disappear on the white background, but I wonder if I do have a bigger white colored pencil and I just, oh yeah, I do. Let me try this. Since it's larger, it might be a little easier to, oh yeah. Since it's white, since it's larger, still not perfect, but definitely more ink coming out with less effort. There we go. Yeah, that's better. So just bring these all the way to the edge, because where this white ink ends, I will add a black ink line. Oh, I'm a little bit over time because the white ink is taking longer, but I am so close to done. I'm not gonna not finish this. I'm gonna finish this today. Okay, so let's do this side. There's one. And on the side where the sun is hitting, well, I assume it's the sun. It looks like the sun in the reference picture. There are a lot more whiskers visible. I did 6 on that side. So I think I'll just do 4 on this side, so I'll add 1 more on this side, and then that'll be good. And I'm going to go over these eyebrow whiskers again. And maybe it'll even be nice because I've already sort of laid the foundation with the smaller pen. Okay, excellent. Actually, I'll leave this one this light because that's how it is. For some reason, this one's catching a lot more light. Probably the same reason why there's this huge highlight on this eye and not on this eye. Okay. Although, I will go over it with this smaller one again. Looking at it again, it looks a little bit out of place. It's a tiny bit too thin, but I don't want it as big as the other side. There. Okay. One final step. So let's see. What size is this? If this is an 05, then this is probably equivalent to an 08. So I'm going to go with this 08 Sakura Pigma Micron to just finish. So I'm trying to follow the same arc as the white ink, and boop. This one will come out down here. There, excellent. Yeah. I love this effect. I love doing this. It looks so cool. It's so fun. So we'll do the same thing on this side. It does look a little bit uneven, so I'm going to add 1 more whisker over here just to... This side is so much wider. Let's add 1 more. I mean, that might be what it is in real life in this photo. It's kind of hard to tell. But yeah, it does look like one side just seems smaller than the other. I think just because it's in shadow. But for the sake of this drawing, it's much better. For the sake of the drawing, add a little, 1 extra whisker. I mean, of course, there's way more whiskers than what I drew anyway. Okay. Yay. So let me sign this. 23. Yay! Chibi Lulu is done! Here she is. Here's a close-up. Chibi Lulu, my friend's cat. This is his birthday present. Chibi portrait of his kitty. There she is. She's so cute. She looks a lot like my cat, Kiki. I've never met her in person, but from his description of her and what I've seen in this photo, she's a lot like Kiki. Kiki's not a calico, though. That seems to be the big difference. Okay. Well, I spent a little extra 5 minutes, but that's fine because I got this Chibi done in only 2 sessions, and they most often take me 3, so it was very surprising. I'm still not quite sure what takes it longer or less time sometimes. Anyway, that'll be it for today and for this week. I will be back on Monday with another Inktober 52 drawing, and there should be nothing to keep me from streaming. Worst case scenario, I'll reschedule to another day, but hopefully I'll be able to. My Mondays have been so iffy recently. I want to get them back more solid, but we'll see. Anyway, that's it for today. I hope you have the great rest of your Friday and a great weekend. Thank you for watching.